Hey everyone, welcome to the Michael Greenwood Show. So today's guest is Joe Dealey. Hi Joe, welcome to the show. Do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hi, Michael. Yes, thanks for having me here today. I am Joe Dealey. I'm a life coach, a hypnotherapist, and a master practitioner of NLP. I'm not a counsellor, I'm a fixer.
Fantastic, fantastic. Um, so yeah, we'll dive straight in. If you take me back to when you first realised that you want to do what you do, so get into call it hypnotism. And helping people, that's the main thing, isn't it? You're helping people to overcome problems. When did you first realise, what were the kind of the catalyst or the turning point when you wanted to get into that?
Well, I worked in corporate for a few decades and I had issues with people that I worked with. And you'd get emotional issues. So they were my issues that sort of blew up. Then I thought, I've got to change them. And dealing with people at work was pretty difficult. You have to be polite, you have to take it all in and all that sort of stuff. And people can be a bit nasty sometimes in working environments, and you have to deal with it. Now, there was an issue that got to me, and shortly afterwards, a leaflet arrived about practicing dealing with your emotions. I thought straight away, I need to do this. I need to do this. So I I did this course on NLP, neuro linguistic programming, and it helped me to train my brain, and it changed things. It changed things immediately, everything in my life. And it was the best thing I did. I could deal with people, deal with my emotions, and almost fix anything. And that was just the beginning. Yeah, it was wonderful. And that's how I started. And I could help from doing this to help myself. I could do it to help other people. And I became passionate about it.
Fantastic. Um, and just a little bit about, obviously you work for yourself, yeah?
I do now, yes.
Yeah, and how has that been different? So, like managing your time and all that kind of thing, uh, as opposed to having a job.
Well, having a job was good. It paid lots of money, and but you had the issues, and you were sort of trapped though. You were trapped, and your life was, doing this. You'd have the stress, and as long as you love what you do, doesn't matter if you got a job, if you like what you do. Um, I love what I do now, working for myself, and I can be quite flexible with what I do, who I work with, and I enjoy it, and it feels like it's not. It actually feels like it's not work because I enjoy helping people change their lives. I'm so passionate about it.
What kind of things what are the common obstacles then, that you see people, and I'm not talking about the issues, but the actual obstacles to even seek help with, when they're looking for somebody like you can help them. And how can you help them to overcome those barriers? Even just realizing they've got a problem, even.
Well, actually, when you quite often you think, well, this is my life, this is who I am, and I can't change. So, which is completely wrong. You can completely change your life. You can change who and how you are, how you think, how you feel. But you think sometimes you're stuck. A lot of people think they're stuck. And one of the main obstacles is dealing with emotions, anxiety, and that can be triggered by traumas, past traumas, current situations, relationships, in work, out of work, all sorts of things, health issues, what's going on in there. What's going on in there is so important. Um, so not knowing, A, that you can change, thinking, well, this is it, this is who I am, tough, stuck here, and B, not knowing where to start if you wanted to. But you can change so many things. And it's finding someone, when you find someone who knows that they can or can offer to help you and has done this before, perhaps, give it a go. I mean, people spend a lot of money on getting their car serviced, but do they spend a lot of money on looking after themselves? You know? So it's, making those changes. It's so powerful.
Are there any myths about hypnotherapy, NLP, coaching in general that you'd like to perhaps tackle or debunk? Even what might people's
Yeah.
perceptions be of being hypnotized, for example?
Well, it's funny enough. Paul McKenna was one of my trainers. I worked with him and Richard Bandler, who was a co-creator of NLP. Now, Paul McKenna used to be a stage hypnotherapist, and people who look at hypnotherapy think it's the same as stage hypnosis, which is a show, which is completely different. It is about managing the mind, but stage hypnosis is about entertainment and fun, and it's very different. It's very different, and the stage hypnotist actually chooses the person. Yeah. With a hypnotherapist, we work with you on a one-to-one. Generally, there are group sessions on a one-to-one, and we have to figure out what you're doing in your head, try to, and help you to calm down and change the things that you choose to. We're not making you do anything you don't want to do. We're not going to turn you into a chicken. We're not going to make you do anything you don't want to do, because your mind is super powerful. Your unconscious mind is there to protect you, to keep you safe, to keep you alive, keep you well, and make you happy. And it does what you tell it. Okay? So sometimes it's what goes on in your mind that you have to sort of get into and change. So the combination of hypnotherapy, neuro-linguistic programming, which is about the words and the things that you have in your mind, the feelings you have in your body, and coaching, is that you're helping. That combination is brilliant because it helps you to make the changes using everything you need or anything you need. Yeah. So I would say that the biggest thing that the myth would be about hypnotherapy and stage hypnosis. That's the biggest thing. They're totally different.
I used to watch Paul McKenna as I'm something a young teenager, and I remember, and that was my perception, of what an hypnotist does, and like you said, it's completely different, in that in that one-to-one situation versus that stage, isn't it? Do you want to unpack a bit about this idea that the mind is there to protect you? But I always give an analogy, like, let's say hunter-gatherer times in the cave, you've got to go out and hunt. Danger, obviously, your brain's trying to keep you safe, keep you in your comfort zone. But if you don't go out, you're going to starve. So it's like very similar to me in business. I've got to find people to help so I can get money. And, if I don't do that, the consequences is going to be we're not going to have money and we're not going to be able to have food and things like that. So it's very similar. And that's how I've overcome my challenges. Do you want to, if anybody watching this is maybe stuck in an habit, for example, and it takes, a couple of months to change an habit, and we can get into like an autopilot, can't we? We're doing the same thing again and again. Do you want to unpack how habits are formed and how the mind keeps us in our comfort zone, which might not be, because everything's a decision, isn't it? You want to maybe talk about that a bit?
Well, there's having habits and things you hold back. There's a lot of stuff in that you've just asked me. So thinking about what we do in our mind, just talking about the unconscious mind. Imagine that's your unconscious mind and that's your conscious mind. And in between there's like this critical mind, this guardian. So if anyone says anything to you from outside, it goes via the conscious mind, and this critical mind, this little guardian, says, oh, I like that, and let it go into your unconscious mind, which is very powerful. All right. If it doesn't like it, it dismisses it. All right. If you have what's called internal dialogue, the words that are going on in your head, there's no critical mind. It's not there. So if you say something, quite often people don't even realise they're saying things in their heads. They think, oh, have I said that to myself? Yeah, we do. We say things in our heads, or we picture things, we're imagining things happening, we're looking for the worst. If we believe those things, we say those things, we're picturing those things all the time, it goes in. There is absolutely no guardian to it. All right? And your unconscious mind does what you tell it. Yeah? So if I say to you, Michael, don't think about a pink elephant with a blue hat on. All right?
That's immediately what I think about.
Yeah. So your
And I
unconscious
can't get it out of my mind now because you've suggested it. It's power of suggestion.
Because your unconscious mind thinks of these things literally, and it can't think of what you tell it not to think about. When you tell it not to think about it, it'll think about it. So if you say, I don't want to think about being worried, you're going to think about being worried. You know, you're going to think about this happening or that happening. So what you say in your mind, doing the NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, is actually changing the way you think, changing your thoughts, changing what you look at. And with hypnotherapy, you get it from a relaxed state, so it goes deeper into the unconscious. Now, you talked about how you push things down. I'm not quite sure if I've got that part of the question right. So it was about having the issues people have, and
suppressing the issues and then getting on with the status quo and staying in the comfort zone rather than tackling the issues. And then you can start to self-medicate with alcohol or drugs, or even like things like OCD, like coping behaviors.
Absolutely.
You know, to not deal with the underlying issues. And it might be a past trauma, or it might be anything like that. And a coping mechanism.
So basically, you're absolutely right. One of the reasons that people have bad habits, and it could be gambling, could be overeating, could be drinking, taking drugs, could be excess exercise, all sorts of things that they do that they're addicted to, because quite often people have emotions and they try to suppress them with alcohol. It's one of the I used to do it. I used to drink a lot of alcohol when I was trying to suppress a lot of the emotions.
Me too.
Yeah, and basically those emotions never get dealt with that way. They don't go away. You knock them out for the night, but they're still inside you. They're still inside you. So one of the things, emotions are there to be dealt with, to be listened to, but not hang on to, because if you suppress them, you don't deal with them. They're there for a reason. They're absolutely there. It's like, if you don't listen to it, it's going to get louder. It's going to get louder and louder, and it will blow up some way. So people will drink more, take drugs more, gamble more, and go and do things more because they can't deal with those things. They say, "Oh, no, I'm going to push that aside. I'm not going to think about it." It's there. It hasn't gone if you don't deal with it. So dealing with those emotions, suppressing them is not a good thing. Dealing with them is a great thing, because once you've figured out what's going on and you've let those things go, and I'm not a counsellor, I don't hang on into the past. I might delve into it briefly to figure out what's gone on, deal with those emotions and move forward. I'm about moving forward. I'm not about hanging on in the past. You know, I like to see people completely change their lives to how they want to be. But drinking alcohol excessively is not the right solution. Taking drugs is not the right solution. Overeating, people think they're pushing down their food with a bar of chocolate, their thoughts, emotions rather, with a bar of chocolate, and they're not. So dealing with those things differently. Once people come to see me and they've stopped drinking, or they've cut down their drinking, and they've got to want to do it, you can't make them do it unless they want to. Once they've done that, then those emotions surface more. And you have to deal with those emotions and help them deal with them. Because quite often they think, oh, no wonder I was drinking. I remember all this now. I was pushing it down. There it is. Yeah. I'm getting so angry about this. And let me have a drink, because that's why I was drinking. So it's actually dealing with those emotions once you've stopped the addiction. They're very much connected.
You start to, so let's say somebody watching this, they've got a problem with alcohol. And this is my opinion. I think there's a sliding scale. I don't think it's alcoholic or not alcoholic. I don't think it's binary. Others might have different opinions. but I think somebody can be spiraling down into something and be on a path. For example, my story was that I noticed that, 10 years prior, I was drinking less. And then, I'd be at a social event and drink more than everybody else. So I knew I had a problem. And then it started to affect, different areas of my life. But if somebody watching this is having a problem, when you stop drinking and start to feel those emotions, and I think we build up the fear. I think fear is false expectations appearing real. It's very, in terms of energy, it's low vibrational, so it's low energy, and it's almost like you manifest the fear if you think about the fear. You said something significant, Joe, a few minutes ago. You said you don't. You'll look into the past, deal with it, but you look to the future. But if you kind of label somebody as an alcoholic, they weren't born an alcoholic. I don't think there might be something that there might have some. It's a learned behaviour. A lot of the time, I mean, maybe there is some. It's the nature nurture debate anyway. What would your advice be for somebody who stops with drugs, alcohol, something like that? How do they start to deal with the emotions? And is it as bad? Because it wasn't as bad as I thought. I thought, oh, I've got all these emotions now that I'm thinking of, and the top of mind. But it's not that bad. I can deal with it. It's not. I'm not going to die. From really deeply feeling, and I'm no longer. I'm going to try and say the word anesthetized. How do you say that?
Well, you're absolutely right, and it does often spiral. People who are alcoholics didn't start off thinking, "Oh yeah, I'm going to be that person on the street," at 8 o'clock in the morning with a beer in my hand. I'm not going to be that person. You don't expect to go that way, so it does often spiral. Now, and quite often it starts off from something social. People go out, they drink, and it's advertised in that way and it's expected in that way. You have to go somewhere and you can't enjoy yourself unless you've got a drink, which is not true. But people believe it because it's what's happened. Now, when you if you not and not everybody has got massive emotional issues like you're saying, you can deal with them, but some people do. Everybody's unique. So the thing is working with each individual. What are you doing? What do you want to do? And what's stopping you? And how do we change that? So it's looking at everybody's unique. You work with an alcoholic, everybody's different. Somebody might never want to stop, so they want to become a moderate drinker, which I do work with, and I will tell them from the start, I can help you, but it's harder to keep going. It can be harder to keep going than if you just stop, because otherwise you've got to keep thinking about it. A lot of alcoholics go to AA, which is great. It's a great community and all that sort of thing. I don't actually resonate with it in certain ways, because if you stop drinking and you want to forget about it, you don't want to think about it, which is what I help people with. If you're thinking about it, it could be cigarettes, it could be drugs, it could be alcohol. When you come out of it, you think like you've got out of jail. You've got out of jail, been imprisoned for so long, and now you're free. It feels amazing when you stop. Now, some people at AA, they're reminded of it. I haven't had a drink for 20 years and 3 months and 15 days. And you're thinking about drink every time. And to me, that makes it harder. What you want is for this to be easy. So much easier this way. So you're not thinking about alcohol. You can go around and people can be drinking around you. You might change where you want to be. Do you want to just be with people because they're drunks? Maybe not. Your life will change. It's a huge life changer.
That makes me think of you're the average some of the 5 people you hang around with the most when you say that, because you'll soon find, I think, if you stop drinking and make that change in your life, that the people, I'm not necessarily, it's the cliche, going to the pub, talking rubbish, and then actually, becoming sober and then thinking, right, I've got not much in common. And then also, there's a big, they'll ask why you're not drinking. People
Mm.
Will
Oh, go on. One won't hurt you, they'll
one won't help
say.
you. Yeah, yeah, exactly. But the one is all it takes to get you straight back into that. And if I were to drink now, because it's been nearly 3 years, coming up 3 years, um, that one would take me into guilt and shame, which is the lowest vibrational energy. So, law of vibration, Bob Props talks about it a lot. Um, I'd feel guilty, I'd feel shame. One of the things that somebody told me, and he'd been sober, I think it's about 8 years, something like that. He said, Michael, it's always going to be coming for you, because he's a guy who went to AA. I never went to AA. I mean, I never used to drink in the morning and anything like that. It was just like 6 o'clock came, Pavlovian dogs kind of thing, salivating kind of thing. So like the bell kind of thing.
Ding ding.
Yeah, so it's almost like more functional. But I was thinking about it all day. I was thinking like, oh, I was kind of hanging a lot of the time, and so like dehydrated, hungover, and not that productive. A lot of the time, so I could have gone that way, and I think it's all the slippery slope. So yeah, it's one of those things, isn't it? It's all about dopamine when I think about it. And I've just like your opinion, Joe. On I talk about this thing in business where I talk about instant gratification versus delayed gratification. So I'll do things in marketing where we'll run ads and they're not going to work straight away. We've got to figure out what works. So we're running like Facebook ads, Instagram ads, Google ads, and I'm managing clients' expectations about how long it's going to take. It's not going to be instant. And there's a lot of snake oil salespeople out there saying, "Oh, we'll get you results in a day, and we'll get you, 50 clients this month, and you'll be a millionaire. It's a silver bullet and stuff like that." So do you want to dig in a little bit about? I'll give you an analogy actually. Instant gratification could be an example of getting that quick happiness, but then you're going to have long-term pain. So, like, I don't know, heroin, for example, or getting drunk or something like that. So that's like a quick fix, instant gratification, dopamine, that kind of thing, versus delayed gratification, like going to the gym, eating something healthy, putting some reps in on your business and doing some marketing or something like that. That's delayed. So it's short term pain because it's uncomfortable. You're coming out of your comfort zone, but then long term benefits. So do you want to dig into that as human beings? How we tend to go for the path of least resistance and the easy option, don't we? A lot of the time, and that's where the paradigm's trying to take us, because it's the habit, and those habits can be bad, can't they? Or good.
They're the quick fixes, aren't they? The quick fixes, like an example would be somebody who's trying to lose weight. If you're hungry, okay, if you're hungry and you see something that you wouldn't eat because you know it's unhealthy, if you're hungry, you'll eat it, okay? So if you, it's a quick fix, but it's bad for your body, it's bad for your health, that sort of thing, but you eat it anyway because you're hungry. It's the same sort of thing. It's the quick fix can be the drugs, the drink, the heroin. The heroin's one of the hardest things for people that they go through. They have to be helped out by people who are locked in sometimes to get through the change. It's really unpleasant for them, but it's doable. People think it's not undoable. And each drug has a different way of working and holding them back and affecting their minds. It is very intense. So you've got a lot of physical stuff going on in there, a lot of mental stuff and emotional. You've got it all just building up. I had a friend of mine who years ago was a heroin addict, and he was he would have this heroin to. He started off to try and suppress things real quickly. Yeah, I've got these problems. I need to take this. I can't think of it. Yeah, I'm fine. Okay. And he got completely addicted to heroin, which is one of the most addictive drugs. And he went to his dealer's house, and his dealer was getting robbed at the time. And the robber put a gun to my friend's head and said, but he said, he was to me afterwards, I was thinking, are they going to steal my drugs? Not are they going to kill me? Are they going to steal my drugs? So you got to think, actually, how important is this? How does it completely overtake people's lives? When you think that you can never have a drink again, when you think you can't have drugs again, you worry about it. You think, well, I can't. How do I live otherwise? How do I do it? And you can't imagine your life changing. People can't imagine their life without heroin because they can't. They're complete. They go for it. It's their quick fix. They're not doing the long-term fix, like having healthy snacks ready, or going for a run and getting rid of all of that bad adrenaline and cortisol that's building up inside of them. Getting the dopamine built up and all the endorphins, like building up. But they're not doing that. They're doing the quick fix. So, and everyone's different, but the quick fix is the damaging one every time.
Yeah, it's something that gives you quick dopamine. It's long-term damaging, and something
Definitely.
that there's joy. Do you want to talk about joy versus happiness as well? It's a lot of people think it's the same thing. Is it the same thing in your opinion?
Do you
And
think it's not?
how is it different?
Do you think they're not? How do you think they're
I
different?
think they're different. So, do you want my opinion first, or
Yes, give me your opinion.
okay? Okay, this is my opinion. I don't know if it's right. I'm not a trained practitioner in
Everyone
any
can
of
have
that.
their own opinion. Don't
Yeah,
worry about that.
I'm just a marketer. I'm just a business person. So,
Everyone's got their own opinion.
yeah. I studied a bit of psychology. I did an A level in it, and my degree's in software engineering, though, so IT. But yeah, so I think joy is. I think whistle while you work. So the song from Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, bit of a weird one. I'm probably going off on a tangent, but I did a video about this a few months ago. But finding joy in what you're doing in the hard work. Yep. And I've done all kinds of jobs like factories, forklift, order picking, sales jobs, bar work, when I was younger and stuff like that. So I used to whistle that song while I was working. A bit weird, I know, crazy. But it's the joy in knowing that you're working towards something. And that to me is joy. Whereas happiness for me is more fleeting. I'm not happy every day. I don't feel that as a man. In particular, I think I'm there to come out of my comfort zone and struggle, and not try to force things or anything like that, but use the power as a man to move forward and always challenge myself. And I think that's where growth is. I think that's why we're here for, expressing our creativity and building things. So that's what I'm all about. And that to me is something I do, finding joy in the struggle, finding joy in getting up and doing something that I don't necessarily want to do, but I know it's going to help me to move the needle in my business and help my family. So that's what I'm all about. So I'm finding joy in things. But am I happy doing some of the things? No. And I don't think I want to be happy all the time. Now, if I were going to be happy all the time, I would think in my mind, oh yeah, I'm going to be on a desert island. That's my idea of happiness. And a lot of people go down this path. What are you going to do when you retire? What would you do if you didn't have to work and all that kind of thing? Jordan Peterson, he says it really well. I think he's got a story where what are you going to do when you're on that desert island? You're having that pina colada. What next? You're going to have another pina colada. Okay. You're going to have another pina. You're going to have 7 pina coladas. You're going to be absolutely hammered. Then what you're going to do? You need a life's purpose, and that's the
Yes.
joy in life. Happiness is a fleeting emotion, in my opinion.
Well, it's your opinion, and it's an interesting opinion, and I guess everyone's got a different opinion. My personal opinion of joy is like a huge joy, a real happiness of something, a real fun. It's fun for me. Happiness for me, and as I say, it's my opinion, not yours. Not everybody. Everybody here might have, listening to this, might have a different definition of this. Is, for me, joy means going and dancing and feeling amazing. Yeah. Happiness for me feels okay. There's challenges, got things to do. A little bit opposite to what you said. joy is this spark of happiness for me. With happiness is contentment, feeling, okay, I know there's these issues, these things I've got to do. What am I going to do about them? I'll find a way. So getting through them and being content, that gives me happiness. That gives me happiness. And we are not happy all the time. Everybody can't say they're happy all the time, but you can actually change your mind so that your mental health and your happiness goes in that direction. Your joy, if you want to call it joy, you want to call it happiness, goes in that direction, because quite often people are down. And when they're down all the time, that's where they're going to keep going. They're going to suppress things with alcohol, or do whatever, or just sleep or not talk. It will get worse and worse. And depression's actually getting more common now. Anxiety is one of the big things that comes through. It's the most common thing that comes to me, is anxiety, particularly, in the younger generations. But the thing is, you can get through this. You can get through this, and you can change your life. People think, well, I'm always going to be like this. Actually, there are some older people like that too. There are some older people who have come along and they've said, oh yeah, I'm not happy, I'm never going to be happy, and I'm not bothered about changing, it's just here. I'm thinking, why? Okay, you don't want to be happy? Fine. I can't help people if they don't want to be happy. But I love it, seeing people completely transform into how they want to be. I don't tell them how to be. I help them to figure out how they want to be and for it to happen. How amazing is that if you can do that? If you can find someone who can show you how to transform your life, your profession, everything. How amazing is that?
And they've got to want to change.
They've got to want to change.
And if they're stuck, and it's how it explained to me, so it was a business coach, and he said to me, because I was stuck at a certain revenue level and it was making me very unhappy, and I were repeating the same 6 months again and again. So and we can dig into this a bit. So basically I had my goals. I don't know if you can see me on screen here. Yep. My goals and my old paradigm. And I have to keep showing up every day and putting work in to become, like the 2.0 version of myself. And then you're working towards the 3.0 version of yourself. And I don't really like the phrase becoming the best possible version of yourself. I like becoming a better version of yourself, and getting to, maybe it's semantics that I'm talking about, but I think there's a lot of pressure on becoming the best possible version of yourself. I'm working at the best possible version of myself today, and I know there's reflective practice. Do you want to dig into that a little bit? You set a goal, whatever it is. It could be being more present for your partner, finding a partner, doing better in your career if you've got a business, leveling up and helping more people, making more money as a result. How does somebody change when the old paradigm is the programming, isn't it? That's the conditioning that we might have some limiting beliefs, something's rubbed off on us, something that's holding us back. How do you help people with that? And if they want to change, of course, they've got to want to change.
If they've got to want to change, they've got to step out of their comfort zone. Quite often, making changes, the transition period can feel a bit uncomfortable in any way, shape or form, because we're used to doing what we're used to. And making that transition can feel a little uncomfortable. So you have to change what you do to become what you want. You have to step out of that comfort zone. You might have to speak to someone in a different way or do something different. You have to do something different, not just speaking to someone. You have to think about things different. You have to step out of your easy comfort zone. Otherwise, you're stuck, aren't you? Nothing is going to change. So working with different actions that people can do, after agreeing what those actions are, I help them to move forward. I help them to get them done and move forward. If they don't take those actions and they get stuck, we have to work a bit harder on them. But yeah, taking those actions and stepping out of the comfort zone is what it takes.
Are there any, if somebody's not ready to quite seek help from a practitioner like yourself, are there anything they can do today? Any simple exercises or techniques to help them a little bit, just to, baby steps, just to help them.
I think it depends what the issue is. There are baby steps for everything, but it's depending what the particular issue is. Give me an example.
Depressing thoughts.
Depressing thoughts. Okay. So quite often, what do you do with those just depressing thoughts? And a lot of the counsellors will tell you the same as this, is that you can't keep them inside you. You can't keep them inside you. You might not want to talk to somebody about it. You might not be ready to see a therapist about it or a coach or something. But if you hang on to them, they're going to stay inside you, and they're just going to get bigger and bigger and manifest. You might just explode or whatever, and the depression will just get deeper and deeper. So you have to get those thoughts out of you. One of the high recommendations that's been going on for a long time is to write out those thoughts. Get them out of your head. Get them out of your head, out of your body. Sometimes it can feel a bit emotional just writing them. You don't have to write them grammatically correctly. You don't have to be able to read. You just scribble them, get them out of your head. Pen and paper, not electronics. Definitely not on a phone, or even if you rip them up afterwards, if they're private, get them out of your head. That's one of the first things.
Or journaling.
Journaling, yeah. You don't have to journal all the time. But if you have got strong negative emotions, get them out of your head. If you can talk to a friend about it, you can go and see a therapist, great. Either way, whether you do that or not, get them out of your head, write them down, pen and paper. It's out, and you're looking at things differently. They are no longer stuck inside you.
Read somewhere that the brain's for processing, not for storage. So that's why, I don't know if you've heard of the second brain. So
Absolutely,
using apps like Notion or whatever, like knowledge apps to actually get your thoughts down on paper, so you're not kind of constantly thinking about it. Because we are what we think about, really, aren't we? And there's an energy in it. So, and the brain doesn't know any different. Do you want to kind of unpack that a little bit? We can convince ourselves of things if we keep. If somebody goes, you mentioned AA as an example. I'm not a big fan of labeling people, and say, "Oh, I'm an alcoholic," because then, that'll manifest surely into, I'm a big believer in, the RAS, the reticular activating system, where in marketing we use that a lot because we show an ad, it makes people think about it, we show an ad again, think about it again, and it's creating impressions. So similar to what you said, with the purple elephant or whatever before, if I suggest, if I'm looking to buy, I don't know, a blue Vauxhall Astra or something like that.
You'll see them everywhere.
You'll see them everywhere, but if I'm not thinking about them at all, one could pull up at the side of me and I don't even notice it. So that's the RAS, the reticular activating system. So I suppose the question is, for me, I've overcome a lot of bad habits by just reprogramming and just being very self-aware. So how important is just taking a step back from the daily life, and I do a lot of guided meditation and just really think about things. And I had a memory yesterday, Joe, which were crazy. So I was quite tired. I've been working all day, and I laid down outside. We've put up a gazebo a few months ago, which is wonderful, especially with this lovely weather we're having. And you'll notice the language I use. I'm very positive about the weather. I'm never. Some people are saying, "Oh, we've got all this weather; it's too hot." I love it, and I love the rain as well. I'm just, it's just my approach. So what we're getting to is, I was laying down, and I had this memory from childhood, because I was just closing my eyes. I'd been on the technology all day. I've been on the laptop. I've been doing work, and I just thought, right, I'm not even doing guided meditation. I'm just going to lay back. I'm not going to go to sleep. I might go to sleep. But I'm just going to think. I'm just going to let the thoughts come in and meditate and that kind of thing. And I had a memory, and I thought, where's that memory? It was when I must have been 3 or 4, and we'd go to this park near where we lived and all that kind of thing. And we moved house when I was 4. So I've got a very clear memory from before or after 4 years old. So I know it were earlier memory. This park, and then I thought, I might go and see that park, And I wanted to actually get in the car and drive to the park, because I was like, wow, and it brought back some memories and all that kind of thing. So you were the Bob Proctor used to say, where your focus goes, your energy flows. Do you want to dig into that a little bit? Where you focus,
Absolutely.
it's so important.
Absolutely. Whatever you think about, going back to the unconscious mind, it takes things. You can only tell it stated in positives. If you can't tell it what not to think about. So whatever you think about, that's where you're going to go. Someone who's depressed, for instance, how do they stand?
Quite. Do you mean how they stand, like posture and everything?
Yeah, what's their posture?
Well, they're not very confident. They don't hold their head high. They're very
hunched.
I say guarded and protective, and they don't want to. They're very protective, aren't they?
Yeah. So where your focus goes, and if you focus even on your posture, you focus on what you want, you're going to get what you want. If you're focusing on the bad stuff and the dangers and the risks, your mind is going to be focused on. Your mind's going to be feeling that. So this internal stuff that's going on, you have to notice what's going on in there. And when I work with people, I figure out, we get what's going on in there. What are you doing in there? And how about changing that? So we find different ways to do it. You can't just take it out and get rid of that thought. You can't just drink it down. You can't just take a drug. You can't just, I'm not going to worry about that, because there's something in there. So you have to notice what is going on in your head and what do you want. Where your focus goes, your energy flows. So if you're thinking about, okay, I'm thinking about going running today. Okay, I only run if someone's chasing me, but okay. So if you're thinking, okay, I'm going running today because I want to go and get fit and all that sort of stuff, and you think about that. But if you think about, if I run, that's going to hurt and everything's no, I'm not going to do it. So you're thinking about the bad stuff. You're not going to do it. But if you focus on running and imagine running, for instance, imagine that feeling and think about how good you're going to feel afterwards. That's where your energy is going. That's what you want. That's what you're going to do. But if you think about things going wrong, if you think about the negatives, that's what you're going to get. Your energy is going to go to the negative. So try and find the positive in every situation. Every situation. Sometimes we think, okay, I'm going to go running. What if it's raining? Okay, so you're thinking about that, and I'm not going out because it's going to rain. But if you think about, okay, if it rains, might be able to turn around or do this or wear that or da da da. Okay, so focus on what you want, but focus on it just happening, just doing it the way you want. Sometimes you said a bit earlier in another question about stepping back out of yourself and looking at yourself. Okay, and that's really important, because when you step out of yourself and look at yourself, quite often you see, what do I want? Do I like how I am? Sometimes people don't have a good opinion of themselves. They worry about what other people think. Do I like how I am? Or how do I want to change? So even by stepping out and then focusing on how you want to be, put your energy that way. So it's a similar thing. You step out and then you think, this is how I want to be. Then you step in and you do it. So it's all about what's in here, what needs to change, how do I want to be, how do I do it? Do I know somebody else who's done it? Can I copy them? Just thinking about how do you get there? But if you focus on all going wrong, being a perfectionist, for instance, being a perfectionist and saying, if it's not perfect, I can't do it. Being a perfectionist is sort of an imperfection on its own, because nothing is perfect. Nothing is perfect, but how you want to be. How do you want to get there? How, having an insight, pushing your energy over there. Where your focus goes, your energy flows. And talking about being depressed, how their posture is If you're like that, you're going to feel like that. So sometimes if you're depressed, just change your posture. Get your posture upright. Get your shoulders back, take a breath in, change your posture. Your energy and your focus will go in that direction. If you have yourself down here and you're looking at the ground, your energy is going to go to the darkness. It's as simple as that. Does that sort of answer your question, or have I got that? I'm
No,
not
I love
quite
it.
sure.
I love it. I
There
love
was a
it, Joe.
lot of stuff in there. Sorry.
There's a couple of things that have sprung to mind. So Viktor Frankl, but I'll come to that in a bit. And then I just had this weird memory. So I was watching EastEnders, and when Peggy Mitchell, Barbara Windsor, and she said if she's ever feeling down, I'd love to find this clip from her EastEnders. So if anybody watching this and anybody a diehard EastEnders fan and they can find this, I've not watched it for a while, but I did used to enjoy it. And she said something like when she's feeling down, she'll dress up, she'll put her makeup on, she'll do her hair, she'll go out there on the bar, and she'll feel on top of the world. She'll make herself feel like that. So
Yeah.
it's very much. And then it reminds me of Viktor Frankl. So he didn't let anybody change his mind. So as human beings, we've got that gap between stimulus and response. We've got that reaction, even when, and we can get into victim mindset if you want. So not being a victim, because if we've got an external loss control, like say if there's just been exams, haven't there? So my youngest has been having a exam. So a lot of people will be getting the exam results next month, won't they? A lot of school leavers, and I suppose if you've got an internal loss control, and if you don't get the results you want, you'll be thinking, oh right, well, I could have done better. I'll kind of fail forward and resit or something like that. That'd be an internal. That'd be taking ownership and being in control. Because if you own it, then you can control it, and then you can make a change. But then, like kids who would say, "Oh, I've got some bad results. Oh, my teacher weren't right good," or I had this distraction. I mean, you could have gone to the library instead. If you've got some. I'm not saying everybody's situation is different, but if you've got an external locus of control, it's more things have been done to me, and it's a victim mindset. Do you want to go into that a little bit, the victim mindset, and also maybe that decision
Control.
we've got? We're taking a step back, that third person on your life, and right, objectively, and that kind of thing, and thinking a bit more.
Well,
I'm not saying logic over emotions, but
the victim mindset is that, like you said, there are things that you can control, things you can't control, and yes, there can be, and it's if you worry about all the things you can't control, what are you going to do about it? It's just going to stay there, isn't it? So focusing on what you can control. For instance, you might have done an exam and your teacher might have been bad and you might not have got the greatest result. It's done. It's done. That thing is done. You can't control where you are now. Do you want to change it? Do you want to take it? What can you control? What can you control? And it's an acceptance of where you are if it's outside of your control. So if you can accept where you are and what has happened, and you can't change it, you've got there's nothing you can do about it. You have to accept it and think, okay, now what do I do? What do I want? What can I control? Because if you hang on to anger about a bad teacher or an issue, what's it going to fix? Unless you can actually fix it and change it for the future, it's not going to fix anything, is it? Not a single thing. So it's accepting that and thinking, okay, I didn't pass that exam or I didn't get the result I want. What do I want to do? What's my choice now? What's my choice? Do I take it again? Do I get a different tutor? Or do I do something different? What are my options? So it's your choices and your options that are within your control. You cannot change. Well, you might be able to change the results. That might be tricky. You might have to go back and say, excuse me, you've done that wrong. Can you mark it again? Not sure that's going to happen. But yeah, I've seen that happen at schools sometimes where I've heard of someone close to me, their teacher didn't even send their course away. Didn't send the whole year's course away. So they failed because although they'd done the coursework, they hadn't been sent. There's nothing they could do about it. So they failed those A-levels, which is not so good. But you have to accept that and move on. It's terrible. You could go and fight that in court. You can choose, actually. Do I fight that in court? Do I do something? There is an option. Do you want to do that? Possibility. Or do you want to move on, do something else? So it's what you accept, what you can change and what you can't. And if you can't change it, what are your options for moving forward? What are your choices?
Staying kind of on that theme a bit, Joe. So let's say somebody's thinking about the next steps. Left school, perhaps they've done a bit of college, they're 18. A bit of a financial one then, just to kind of throw this in and the mindset behind it. Let's say 20 years ago, you could buy an house, the housing ladder question, 3.5 times your income, get a mortgage on that. But now it's more like the average wage is probably 35 grand a year in the UK. It's not really changed much since the credit crisis in 15 years ago, 16 over that now, isn't it? So now it's probably average house price is 280, 290, about 9 times what a salary is.
Yeah.
That is a very real problem, and that might make people angry, that though it's not fair and all that kind of thing. And I've got my opinion on this and what people can do, but it's no longer that you can just like go into a job and have a job for life and then get an house and put a deposit down and things like that. And it's almost like you need 50 or 100 grand from bank and mum and dad, something like that. Do you want to dig into that a little bit? Just how would a young person deal with that and move forward in the world, and what would the mindset be, and what advice would you give them?
The world changes all the time. The world changes all the time, and things change all the time. If we go back to how many years, buying a house was not one of the things that was out there. I think Thatcher came in and she helped people buy houses. So buying a house was not one of the things. Everybody rented, apart from the rich. They owned their own houses. And now so many people own. The economy's changed. All these different elements of the world have changed. Back in the past, families all used to live together for almost ever until they had babies and whatever, and they'd find a way and they lived rent-free with their parents. Now, people are separating. The whole world, families are disengaging, aren't they? Families are moving apart from their parents. They're not there with them a lot of the time. And they're moving away and want to be on their own. The whole world is changing, and it always changes. There will always be changes. So knowing that the world has changed, and knowing that being able to get a mortgage is not the same as it was, 30 odd years ago, knowing that the world has changed, you've got to look, what are my options? What are my choices? And yes, it's not great. It's not great. But actually, life has changed, and are there things that you could do differently that my parents did? We did different things that our parents did. It all changes, and it's how you transform. And don't expect all the good things from the past, because there were a lot of good things in our past that are not here now, and vice versa. There are a lot of good things now that weren't in the past. World changes, so it's what are your options and what are your choices, knowing that the world is changing, and don't expect what was there 10, 20 years ago. Just don't expect it. It's outside of your control. So what are your choices? So some people might want to do things differently. So, Michael, think about it now. As a youngster wanting to find somewhere to live, what would your options be if you didn't want to rent?
You see a lot of these rooms to rent, so living together. And I'm thinking like the opportunity for the younger generation is more online. It's like you and I make money through Zoom, which we could never have done, say, even, there was Skype, obviously, like 20 years ago, but it was never really a thing to make money the way that you and I are making. We can make money, we can speak to anybody in the world, we can take a payment from anybody in the world, help anybody in the world. So I think that's the opportunity. I think it's kind of reframing it and thinking, 50 years ago, they didn't have the opportunity. Yeah, they could get the cheaper housing or whatever, but they didn't have as much geographical mobility. They didn't have the job opportunities really. Yeah, they might have had the jobs for life, but there's there's so much knowledge out there, and it's the information age. You can create a course, you can help create a service business. And I'm not one of these who thinks that anybody can be an entrepreneur, and I'm definitely not saying a job's bad, because jobs are wonderful. A lot of people can make a lot of money with jobs, and it's suited for most people. It's a difficult, I say challenging, more challenging. I think growth comes from being challenged. Being an entrepreneur. Yeah. So if somebody's like 20 or 18 or something like that, that usually these days they're going to live with their parents for longer. They can rent, and a lot of places in Europe, there's still a lot of countries. It's the culture to rent, and like you rightly said, this home ownership, it was a kind of byproduct of it's the boomers were the after World War II, wasn't it, to rebuild the economy and everything. But like I said, the opportunities for work weren't there.
Work changes. The opportunities for work. The world changes. I mean, in the old days, we could get a job like that, but we couldn't afford. I couldn't even afford to rent a room, and I would work full time because the rents were so high. I had a tough time, but you have to build your way out of it and think, well, actually, not great, but what can I do? And sometimes, actually, the good things just happen. Something good just happens. You have to keep your focus in a good way. Know you've got hardships. I've been through some tough times, and I remember queuing up for when they put the food down the right price. They're just about to chuck it out. You can buy it for 10p. Oh, I can eat today. So I've come from hunger and not good easy life living to working my way through. I remember when I managed to get a mortgage, I had to work 4 jobs to pay for it. But I had to get those 4 jobs, which wasn't easy either. But you have to do things differently. If there are no jobs available for people now and the mortgages are high, what do you do? How do you do that? What are your options? Okay. And what can you expect? Have you got somewhere to live? You got a roof over your head? Can you go and live with your mum and dad? Say, I'm really sorry. Can I come and stay? What can you do? What can you do? What are your options? Okay. And I think life and family, to make things better, they need to change. They need to sort of work together, either in a community or with family, in a way that's working together. But
100%.
certainly things have to change. And the positive about it is that if you can think, challenge and get through little things, it makes you stronger. It makes you able to deal with anything. Anything.
Yeah, they said what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, don't they?
My daughter said that to me when she was 15. Yeah, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. What you go through, your challenges, make you stronger. They make you see things differently and focus on what you want.
Okay. One more question then. So
Go on then.
We've covered quite a lot, haven't we? It's been wonderful.
It has.
Let's talk about mindset a little bit. So in terms of achieving personal and professional goals, and how someone can start shifting the thinking from I don't know if you believe in the law of attraction. I believe everything's energy. I think the primary law is law of vibration, like Bob Proctor said, and then there's the law of attraction. So what you think about your attract, but it's not kind of woo like just sit there and conjure it up and then you'll have it. You've got to take action as well, and in business it's usually massive action as well, and more action than what people will think about. But shall we just dig into kind of thinking in terms of abundance? And I think there's plenty of jobs out there, but I think the traditional way of looking for a job, for somebody watching this, if they don't have a job, or like, you know, that type of person we're talking to, somebody who's left school or something like that, maybe done a bit of college or whatever, maybe they're 18. There are, in my opinion, plenty of jobs out there, and it's having an abundance mindset and knowing there's abundance. And you've just got to kind of box a bit cleverer. So rather than the way that I got a job once is I walked into a bar, and it were a bar job, and I didn't put an application in. I said, "Are there any jobs?" And the person said no, and I persevered. And are you sure?
Ah,
I can see you're a bit busy. And I got an interview there and then, and I got a starting date. That's the way I've always done it. So if there's I know there's, you know, if you're going for something in the public sector, I've worked in the public sector. You know, you've got to go through a set process, but it's always good to give them a call. You know, that recruiting officer or manager, and then building some rapport. So that's the way. You know, that I'm teaching my kids to get a job. You know, because they're at that age. So it's like, yeah, do just apply for the job, like the CV is the minimum thing. But the mindset is you might have to apply for a few hundred jobs these days, but keep going, keep showing up, keep working with intensity and increase the intensity. So do something that's sustainable. Like if you're going to start today, do 3 applications for a week, then do 5 applications, and then it becomes an habit, and then you kind of, you know, that. So do you want to dig into that growth mindset versus fixed mindset, shall we say, abundance mindset, etc.
regarding looking for jobs?
Regarding anything, regarding making any change, personal, professional goals, anything.
Well, making any, it's actually knowing what you want, and that changes.
The goal, having the
The
goal.
goals can change,
Yep.
but it's keeping that way. And sometimes you can look for a job, and these youngsters are looking for a job. They send out hundreds of applications. So do it differently. Do it differently. I help people to get jobs. I help youngsters to get jobs. They might panic in their interviews when they get an interview, you know, but it's doing things differently. And it's how you connect with people. And it's spending time every single day doing what you said, applying. It's how you apply. But it's focusing on it and not just ticking the box on the internet, which is most of them. This is how you do it. Tick the box on the internet. Oh yeah, I'll do it. I'm going to send that. And hundreds of other people have done the same thing. And your CVs quite often aren't even looked at that way, unfortunately. So it's finding different ways to do it. And I help people do that as well, so that you stick out a little bit. And then they get their interview and they go, "Oh, I can't do my interview." You know, so you have to help them get their interview so that they're calm, and they interviews are you know, you can be nervous at an interview, definitely, but it's finding the way to connect and knowing what you want and focusing on and practicing it in your head with a therapist, practicing it, you make it happen. But when you practice it in your head and it's going backwards, I'm not going to get this job, that's what you've got. And you're just ticking the box online. Yeah, you know, you're going to be lucky to get that job. And the other thing I would say for the youngsters is we used to take any job we could get, any job, because there was such poverty in our youth, such poverty. We would take any job. And I won't even tell you the first job I had. It's not on my CV, but I needed a job. I needed to earn some money. So there you go. But yeah, they're the basic jobs. Just do them. Do whatever you can. And you've started. You're in there. And it helps you elevate yourself to be able to do something. No matter what it is. Doesn't matter what it is. Doesn't matter. I see clients of all different levels. I've seen billionaires. I've seen celebrities. I've seen road sweepers. You know, I've seen from the whole range. The point is, you have to change what you want to change. And focusing on doing things differently helps you to get the results you want or to make some shifts, not be stuck.
And when you put it in action and inputs, you're getting feedback anyway. You can create a feedback loop, can't you?
Yeah.
You've got. It's just there's a book called Ready Fire Aim, and it seems to be in the wrong order, but it's have an idea, take action, and then course correct. So it's like anybody watching this and you want to make a change, take some positive steps towards it. If you want to go to the gym, James Clear talks about it in Atomic Habits. So night before, get your gym shoes ready. If you spend 2 minutes doing that, you're more likely to go to the gym. So yeah, it's forming good habits. Joe Dealey, thank you for being on the show. It's been
my pleasure.
absolutely wonderful. We need to do it again sometime, definitely. And where can people find you?
Well, they can contact me. I'm on Facebook, and the website is theimprovedyou.com, and you can contact me via that. Or message me on Facebook. Theimprovedyou.com.
Fantastic.
All right.
I'll see you soon.
Yeah. Thanks, Michael.
Thanks a lot.